Hi students, welcome to your practical assessment sessions. Now you have 3 of them during the year. This is your first one. It is the largest, but it's also the most fun. During your practical assessment sessions, this is where we will be assessing you. So you'll be using the knowledge you've learnt during your units. You'll use the skills you've learnt during prac placement, and we'll get you out there in the zoo doing it, and we'll be assessing you to make sure that you are competent and giving you help where you need it as well. So my name's Roxanne, I'm the training coordinator for Cert 3. So I'll give you a few little hints and tips and anything you need to know to make sure that you are prepared to coming into your practical assessment session. If you do have questions, you can contact us to make sure that you are confident to go ahead on the day or the week or a few days, depending on the session you're in, and it should be a lot of fun. So during your time with us, there are a few things we do need to cover during the practical assessment session. So with this one, you have practical assessments 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll be doing a Care for Young tutorial, which is some really interesting information we want you to know. Your husbandry manual workshop, it's part of your larger project that you'll be doing throughout the entire course, and it links back to a practical assessment later in the year. So we'll run you through all of that information. And any time left, we're going to look at careers. So to help you out with getting work or whatever you're interested specifically in the zookeeping industry. Now with these next slides, you can see which assessments are actually linked to what units. Now, practical assessment 1, 2, and 3, they all link to the 6 units here. So work in a zoological facility, WHS, nutrition, habitats, infection control, and of course animal health. So instead of doing an assessment for every single one of them, the practical assessments will merge all of those relevant skills together and we'll assess it holistically in one go. Okay, so you're going to do 3 assessments that will actually link to all 6 units here. Now, by now you have completed all of those units. You have to have sat the unit before we can actually assess you. So if you haven't sat any of those units, please make sure you do catch up with your support officer prior to your assessment session. But by now you've done the units. Most of them would already have been, assessments will be done. Assessments are probably already marked for a lot of them, except maybe the last few. So you already know exactly where you stand and exactly what is involved in those units. So assessment, practical assessment 4 is a little bit different to 1 to 3. We'll go into that in the next few slides. But assessment 4 will cover your work within a zoo facility, contribute to WHS, and infection control. So again, we do all of these units in the one assessment. And again, you've already done all these units, so you know exactly the information we're going to be covering. So now the important information, what will you actually be doing during your practical assessments? So to put it quite simply, practical assessment 1, 2, and 3 are basically the same. Practical assessment 1 is the largest. We actually drop a few things, so assess a few less things in 2, and again, drop a few things for 3. So some skills have to be done 3 times, some skills twice, some only once. So basically what you're going to be doing is husbandry. So you're going to be doing normal keeping routine for 3 different species, all on the one day. Okay, so 1 in the morning, 1 between morning tea and lunch, and 1 after lunch. Okay, so at your zoo, there'll be 3 designated species. You'll go in and you'll do all the jobs that a keeper normally does. And you can see the list here. So consider yourself a trainee keeper. You're going to go to your 3 different species throughout the day. You're going to complete all the husbandry routine that is appropriate for them. You'll be doing observation, so watching them eat, watching the things they do, watching the things they don't do, which is sometimes just as important, watching how they interact with each other. You'll do a whole lot of documentation, our reporting. You've heard of that in every single unit. We need to write everything down. So you will be doing that and completing all those documents that you've already had practice at completing during your theory lessons, and there'll be some discussions with the trainer, with each other, and also a bit of teamwork involved as well. So we've been running this for a few years in this format now. Feedback is always that students were nervous to start, but when they got into it, they actually forgot they were being assessed. They were just working their job, and they actually had a lot of fun doing it. So I know it sounds silly, but be a little bit excited. It is quite a bit of fun. So with these 3 assessments, there's a few things we'll do before, there's a few things we'll do in the exhibit, and then a few things we'll do afterwards. So before, we'll meet up. We'll put all our stuff down, our bags away for the day, grab what we need, water and gloves, and we'll head off ready to meet at the exhibit, meet the keeper at the right time, as we have to stick to the same schedule that the keepers do work under. So when we get to our first species, I'm not going to mention species today because they will differ across the sites. And with zookeeping, you never know what's going to happen. So we have to be very flexible. So we'll book in some species, and on the day, maybe it'll be those, maybe it won't be. We'll just take it as it comes. But basically, we'll get to our enclosure. We'll spend a bit of time as a group. We'll have a bit of a discussion about WHS factors of working with that animal. What do we already know? What do we gain from reading the procedures? What can we actually see? We'll look for some hazards and discuss some controls. So something you see that might actually be an issue, how can we fix it? We'll look for infection risk as well, because we do have to keep ourselves safe from the animals. We want to keep the animals safe from us and also from each other. And then we'll also identify the animals in the enclosure, so work out who's who. So that's going to be a challenge for all of us, but we will have a site-specific keeper with us at all times to be able to tell us about those individual animals. And hopefully you'll all learn to tell them apart. So when you do your observation, you know exactly who you're watching and what they're doing. So then it's time to get into the enclosure. First thing we've got to do is work out how we're going to work safely with the animal. So that might mean, like for practical assessment 1, we'll watch a safe shifting routine. So how do you safely move a dangerous or a hazardous animal from point A to point B, which will give us an area to move around safely. Or for example, with assessment 2, it might be actually picking up that animal and physically handling it. So how do we do that safely for us and for the animal? We're going to look at what equipment we're using and necessary PPE. We'll make sure that we use any PPE correctly, including your gloves. You'll have to bring some gloves. We'll make sure that we've read our work procedure and we'll follow it to make sure we have the right cleaning routine. At some point, we'll do a little bit of weighing or measuring or body scoring. Again, depends on the species. We'll do that for one of the assessments, practical assessment 2. We'll follow our hygiene protocols. So some of it is really basic, like wash your hands after you do cleaning, wash your hands before you touch their food, clean your boots when you're leaving, that kind of thing. We'll do some maintenance. So that might be doing some weeding. It might be fixing up a gate or some mesh. They might get us to paint something. They might get us to grease some locks. I don't know. Depends on the day, depends on the schedule. They'll give us some jobs to do. Any infection control activities. That also includes things like pest control as well. So making sure that we're not spreading anything. So it might be cleaning off our tools properly, making sure that we clean our boots, making sure we're not bringing tools from one species to another species. So there's no cross-infection risk. We will do some food preparation or enrichment preparation. We'll make sure that all the food is stored properly. We'll make sure everything's cleaned after we use it as well. There will be a treatment. For some animals, we'll actually do the real treatment. For others, we'll do a mock treatment because, you know, our animals don't want to have 9 tablets from 9 different students, for example. So again, it will depend on the species and the day, but you will undertake preparation of a treatment and completing a treatment sheet. We will do enclosure integrity, security, and pest control checks. So we'll get you walking the perimeter. We'll get you, checking screws, checking, pushing on fence lines, looking for holes that are being dug underneath them, looking for evidence of a pest species. We might even get you filling up baits or checking live traps. Again, just depends where we are. And of course, the big important thing of being a zookeeper is knowing how to work effectively as a team. So we'll be watching that to make sure you're doing that well. We might give you some tips to make sure that it's as we would deem appropriate. And for all of these things you're going to be doing, you're going to have myself and another trainer just observing. If you need help, we'll get in there and give you some tips and tricks, but otherwise we'll just be observing, making sure you get it right. We'll help you to get it right if you need a little bit of guidance, but by the end of it, we'll have an observation checklist all ticked off with all of your skills completed. Now, this is just a quick add-on to the last slide with all that information. Just for Perth, you have already completed a portion of your PA2. So during block 2, you did your reptile handling, which I've heard about. It sounded awesome. A little bit jealous you got to handle all those cool reptiles. So you've already done a portion of PA2. You still have to do the rest, all the cleaning and the food feeding and everything. So you're still going to do that on the day, but the handling itself, for PA2, you have already done that. So well done, you're already a big step ahead. All right, so once we've finished inside the animal area, so for example, the exhibit, or it might be a back of house area, again, depending on the day and the species. But once we're done in that animal area, it'll get locked up properly by the keeper. And then we have to clean all our tools and equipment we used, and of course, putting it away, checking it for any damage. We'll refill the food stores. We'll do a bit of a stock take and do a reorder. We're going to watch the animal. So watch it feeding, so make some observations to put in our records. We'll look at animal behavior, how they're interacting with each other. There might be some grooming, there might be some aggression, there might be some vocalization. We'll look at the diet, so what was the diet we fed out and what can we do to make it more improved. So we'll come up with some ideas, and we'll have to, come up with reasons for improving the diet. It might be because you have a better enrichment idea. It might be because something's changed in the exhibit or the availability of a food item. It might be because an animal's growing up, and so you have to increase the food. Whatever the reason, we're going to look at a diet and improve it. And then we'll do a workplace inspection. So you might remember one of those from WHS unit, where we have a little template. We look at everything in our environment, and we deem whether it needs to be improved or whether it's safe and how we would do that. Okay, so everyone will complete a workplace inspection for that area. That one you only have to do one, just in practical assessment 1. Okay, so you've been in, you've done all the skills, you've been observed by your assessor in the zoo, and now you need to complete your evidence, which you'll be doing some of it on the day, and you can finish it at home and then submit it through Accelerate. So you can see that with practical assessment 1, 2 and 3, the evidence will differ a little bit. Some will have more, for example, PA1, some will have less, like PA2, but this slide will show you the kind of things that you will be completing. So hazard report form, submission form, works requisition form, treatment sheet, diet sheet, your daily report, and your workplace inspection form. So some of them, like your daily report, your treatment sheet, you will do for all 3 species, for all 3 assessments. Some you may only do once, like the submission form. When you go into Accelerate, however, you'll notice it's all in a bundle for you. Okay, so you'll download your Practical Assessment 1 document evidence, Practical Assessment 2 document evidence, and your Practical Assessment 3 document evidence, and just complete all of those forms based on the species you did for 1, the species you did for 2, or the species you did for 3. Okay, each document is just on that one group or that one species. So as long as you complete the whole document, you won't miss anything out. Okay, so it sounds really complicated, but once you download the documents, you'll see they're all grouped together, so it is quite easy. Okay, let's make sure you're prepared. So what do you need to bring with you? Make sure you bring your initiative and willingness to participate. You do have to do all of the tasks to be competent in these assessments, so you've really got to get in there and give it a go. We will help you with anything you need help with, but don't stand back and wait and expect everyone else to do it for you. Get in there, be a keeper, and get the job done. Okay, make sure you are respectful. You will have a lot of keepers from your zoo around. You'll have obviously your team. You'll be working in a team with your other students that you have now got to know, I'm sure, and of course your assessors and the animals. Okay, treat them with respect. Make sure you're listening. We are going to be in back of house areas. There potentially may be animals that are dangerous or hazardous that you're around. So make sure that you are listening, you are staying safe, you're doing everything you should do. When it comes to what you actually need to physically pack in your bag on the day, bring some gardening gloves. Don't buy the cheapest ones, because if they're really thin and we get you to pick up a weed or something, it'll just go right through the gloves. But don't spend a fortune, okay? Just pop to Bunnings, buy something that's going to give you a little bit of protection. And make sure they're clean. Don't, be digging up your garden the day before or working in another animal facility, because there are biosecurity concerns there. So make sure they don't have to be brand new, but make sure you've washed them, make sure they're clean. Bring a notepad and pen. Obviously, some people like to write on their phone. That can take a little bit longer, and you might drop your phone or something. So ideally, a little, the little mini ones you get at Kmart or Coles, little notepad and a pen. Make sure that's stuffed in your pocket, because there will be lots of things for you to write down, which you're going to rely on later when you're at home trying to complete all of your documentary evidence. So the more you write down, the better, but you need to do it quickly. And don't bring a large notebook, because there's nowhere for you to put it. It's got to go in your pocket. So like I said, bring your phone. You might take some photos to prompt you, but we'll be careful how we're using that phone. Make sure it's safely and appropriate. Please bring a face mask in your pocket, okay? Whether or not you use it or not, I don't know. It depends. We've got different species booked in it at different zoos, and on the day those species can change due to the dynamic environment the zoos are. So some animals we do still need a face mask for infection control properties, or you might need a face mask depending on the exhibits you're working in due to the environment. So that's safety for you with substrates and particles. So just make sure you do have a decent, we've all got face masks now, we live in that world. So make sure you've got a face mask in your pocket, a clean one. What to wear, really basic, just wear your TTR uniform. So your student shirt, you know, don't wear anything too bright, but you know, just your neutral colors, pants or shorts. Make sure you wear appropriate work shoes, so wear your work boots. Make sure they're clean work boots. They haven't been used in any other zoo or farming or any other animal sites, again, for that biosecurity. And depending on what the weather's like, bring the appropriate items. So hats and sunscreen, or a wet weather jacket. Last year during pracs across all the sites, we had the extremes from, you know, I think in Perth we were hitting, you know, high 30-degree days, and then in Dubbo we had the biggest drenching I think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever been that drenched through within such a short amount of time. So either way, whatever the weather is, we go ahead with it, rain, hail or shine. So just make sure that you bring whatever's appropriate for your day. Okay, what to expect on your day. So you're going to come in the morning, you put your bags down, we'll give you an introduction, we'll give you all of the information you need. You would have also already read the student instructions prior. I'll remind you of that at the end of this. So you'll know exactly what you're doing, but come in, be on time, because if you do miss any of the instructions, it is going to affect your ability to complete things. So make sure you're there on time, get there a bit early. There is a lot to happen during these days. So be dressed appropriately. You are going to get a bit dirty. You are going to work hard. Sometimes it's ridiculously hot. So you're going to be sweating. Sometimes it's absolutely freezing. But rain, hail or shine, the day's going ahead. So be prepared for it. You're going to experience what it's like to be a keeper. You've already done that during some of your work placement, but you really will get in there and be responsible on these days. We do expect you to work hard. We do expect you to work appropriately and get the task done properly to our standard, because remember, you'll forget during the day because it's fun, but it is an assessment. So you do need to hit the requirements that we're looking for. You are going to be assisting the keepers, so you have to work to their standard. So your assessor will be judging that, as will other keepers from the site working with you. And of course, you're being observed at all times. I know that sounds a bit creepy, but we are watching your skills and ticking off that you've completed each of them satisfactory. There may be some photos taken, there may be some videos taken randomly as evidence, but mainly you will be being watched by your 2 assessors during the day. It's a zoo, so there are policies and procedures in play. You'll be used to that with all of your units by now. So site protocols and requirements, and they will differ a little bit depending on what site you are being assessed at. So we will be going in areas that the public don't go to, so back of house or behind the scenes areas. So making sure that you are listening to your assessors and to the keepers at all times. Again, we want to keep you safe. Only going to areas where you have someone accompanying you, or you've been told to go into. Don't just go wandering off. You know, zoos are really dangerous places, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. It really is that simple. There are going to be parts of the assessment where you'll be in close contact with animal. Don't touch it unless we tell you or instruct you or give you direction on how to touch it. There's only one species that will actively be handling. So just bear that in mind. We're not going in there all touchy-feely with everything. So only do what you're directed to do. Again, safety, safety, safety. Hygiene protocols to keep you safe, to keep everyone else safe. COVID protocols are still a thing, okay? So we'll be following what's relevant at the time. Like I said, bring a mask. Follow any biosecurity protocols of an area we're going to, especially if we're going into areas with ungulates. Foot and mouth is still an issue, so make sure your boots are clean before you come to the zoo. Even bring them in a bag, put them on when you get on site, take them off at the end of the day, making sure that there is no chance that we're spreading anything around. And of course, being aware of those photos and videos will be taken as evidence. Okay, moving on to practical assessment 4. It's a little bit different than 1, 2, 3 that we've already discussed. This one will be primarily based in a classroom, but you will still be in your groups, and you'll be doing 4 different skills, 4 main skills, okay? So the first one is you're going to be doing a risk assessment based on zoonotic infection. So when I think about the animals you've been working with, and in your group, you'll identify an infection risk that is zoonotic to you, and then you're going to look at working in those spaces. What is that risk? And of course, you'll do a risk assessment on how you can minimize it and make it safer for everyone. So that's the first part. and we'll give you a little bit of a reminder on zoonotic infection when you get there for this session. And then you're going to go in with the next 3 parts being all about an emergency situation happening at your zoo. So your assessor will give you an emergency situation and you'll all be given a role. You're not going to pick them, you'll be allocated a role and you'll be given information from the emergency procedures for your zoo and your role, and you'll work out exactly what to do. Okay, so once you've been given your scenario as a group, your scenario and your individual role as a group, you'll talk it through, you'll have a think about how that's going to go, and then you're going to go and act it out. So we're not expecting anything amazing with your acting, it's just your understanding of the policies and procedures and the steps that need to be taken to make sure that you can end that scenario, hopefully with a good outcome. So you'll go ahead and you'll do that drill in your group, you'll have your assessor watching, you'll have lots of time to work it out beforehand, we won't just throw you in the deep end, don't worry. You've also done a bit of a practice in class, so it's not brand new to you. And then you'll come back to the room and you'll do a debrief. So during that debrief, you'll be talking about what went well, what didn't go well, what you need to change. And that will be in the form of a simulated WHS team meeting. So because it is a team meeting, you'll all have to be involved in that. So we'll be looking for participation from everyone. We'll also be needing you to make your own meeting minutes. Now, I understand in a normal meeting situation, one person makes the notes for everyone, but it is a skill that we have to tick for everyone. So you'll all make your own notes using the approved template, and you'll be submitting that with your risk assessment at the end of this assessment as part of that documentary evidence. Okay, so breaking it down a little bit further, you'll do your risk assessment. So you'll come up with a zoonotic disease that is something that could be contracted to or from the animal that you are working with for practical assessment 1. You would have either have done it by now or you'll be told by your assessor. So in your group, you'll identify a zoonotic infection and you'll think about the area that you're working in and come up with ways that you can actually use that risk assessment to identify the risk, look at the parameters, and then try and minimize that. So that's on your practical assessment 1 species. You'll fill out the template. You can do that in your group, but you will be submitting that as part of your evidence. So make sure you are completing that whole template appropriately. You can ask the assessor questions during the session. And of course, you've already gone through a risk assessment during your WHS class as well. And then you'll go on to do your emergency drill simulation. So you'll be given a event that's happened. You'll be given a role. You'll then play an active role based on the role you've been given. You'll follow the emergency protocols that are specific to that site that you're at, and you need to show an awareness of your role and your responsibilities during that simulation. And then after that drill's done, as part of your debriefing, you're going to have your WHS meeting. Okay, so this is your agenda. Again, we'll give it to you on the day. You don't have to remember it from now, but just so you know what's happening, you'll talk about specifically what each of your roles were. So, you know, what happened? What did you do? You will have the debrief, you know, what happened, what were the success or failures in either communication or action, so what could you have done better, and that will come with your learning, so recommendations and suggestions going forward, and then you'll come up with a plan for your next emergency drill as well. So everyone will get involved in this, and everyone will take meeting minutes in order to submit as part of your evidence. And again, during this meeting, you're being observed again the whole time, and the trainer will be doing an observation checklist, which will get uploaded for you as well. Okay, your practical assessment 4 document evidence, again, it's on Accelerate. It's in a little package. It's a lot quicker than the others. There's only 2 documents. One is your risk assessment, and you will have completed that in class, okay? So there's not much for you to do when you get home. Complete all the parts, but you'll do that as you're working in your group. And then your meeting minutes. So you will have taken your meeting minutes during the session, during the assessment session while you're being observed by your assessor. When you get home, you might just want to clean that up a bit, make sure that they are detailed enough, because remember, that is the main thing that we do actually send it back to you. They have to be detailed enough that anybody who wasn't present at the meeting can pick them up and know exactly what's going on. Okay, so make sure that you do that first go so you don't have to resubmit it. But that might be something you'll go home, add a bit more detail, clean it up, make sure that it's typed in, that we can read it. And then they're the only 2 documents that you will submit. So nice and easy for assessment 4. Now, on one of the days in the afternoon, you actually, after your practice assessment 4, it's on the same day, you're going to be getting a little tutorial on care for young animals. So this is not assessable. There are no assessments involved in this. This is purely because it's an area of the industry that we don't do at every zoo all the time. We don't do it often. You may not always get to be involved in it, but we still think that it is quite an important skill for people to have. So we would like you to learn it anyway, but it is more for fun. So it's interesting. Your trainer will take you through the topics you can see there, suitable environments, parent reared, the great debate to save or not to save. Maybe you guys will have a little bit of discussion on that. How we hand rear different animals, mammals, birds, reptiles, how we record the information, weaning and release, and of course the WHS involved. So no assessments. There is a workshop guide, so you have a whole lot of a package of information you can take home with you, as well as what you actually learn in the face-to-face session with your trainer. So it is an interesting one. If you're into any kind of wildlife release or any of the wildlife care groups, maybe you already do a bit of hand raising, if a possum or something comes in, it'll be super interesting. Or you might find it that interesting that you go and get involved with some of those groups outside of the zoo. Either way, it's a great skill, and even though it's not one of our core units at the moment, we're not actually teaching it as a unit. It is a unit, but we're not teaching it as part of our packaging at this point in time. We still want you to know about it, so that's why we're going to give you a couple of hours learning about it during our assessment week, and we hope you enjoy it. So for this assessment day, where you have your practical assessment 4 in the morning and you have your Care for Young tutorial in the afternoon, again, just, be willing to participate, get involved, bring your laptop, because you can actually view some of it on your laptop. You can even complete some of your assessments as you go directly. Notepad and pen is always good to make some notes. And again, bring a face mask because we just don't know. So bring one anyway. All right, then on your third day, you have a few more things to go through. And the biggest chunk of the day is going to be looking at husbandry manuals. So you're going to have a seminar or a workshop on how to write a husbandry manual. So we'll give you a bit of a lesson. The trainer will give you a lesson on this. And then that will lead you into your project, which is part of your assessment for this unit. Everyone is going to be given an animal, or possibly you've already been given an animal, depending on what site you're at. So you'll have your animal, and that's what you're going to complete your assessment on. Okay, it links back to a practical assessment you'll do in the last block, where you'll do a little presentation, and you'll also, at the end of it, produce an actual husbandry manual. So that husbandry manual, we want it to be pretty good, okay, because we're going to be sharing it with the zoo you're at. So it is one of the ways that we can actually give back and say, hey, we've done all this, work at your zoo during the year. We've had the benefit of being in the grounds. We've had keepers come and talk to us. We've had guest speakers. We've got to do behind the scenes. And here's something that we have produced that hopefully you can actually use on section as well. So we do want them to be good because, again, it's going back to the zoo, who at some point you may actually be in paid employment with. So we want you to put a bit of effort into them. But of course, during this first session, we'll tell you all about husbandry manuals. There is a workshop guide you can download. So the session itself is not accessible. There's no assessment linked to this session. It's just that practical assessment outcome, which is your actual manual that you'll produce, and you'll do a talk about it. Okay, so online you've got a workshop guide with all the information about how you write a husbandry manual, and you've also got the template that you will be using to write your manual for the animal that you've been allocated. Okay, so you get a lot more information during the session. This is the first session. You'll get a second session later on in the year as well, or a check-in with a trainer to help you out with any information you still haven't found or any questions you have. So that's later, but for now, we'll just get you started with what is a manual and what you need to do. And then to finish off that third day, we also want to have a little bit of a career seminar. Some of you are already working in the zoo, some of you want to work in the zoo, some of you want to work in other animal industries. But either way, we thought it'd be good to give you a bit of a background on what that all means. So we've got some information on what are the kind of careers you have in a zoo environment. We will see on the day if we can get some information from the HR department at your site. We'll try and get a keeper to come and talk to you, because keepers have really different stories when it comes to how they got their job. Your trainers can also tell you about, they're all very different with how they've got their job. Same with me. So we'll give you how, we ended up being keepers. And it might give you some ideas, and it might sort of put you in a different direction. And then if we have time, we'll do a bit of resume writing skills and also some interview skills if we have time. We'll just see how we go. If we don't have time, we'll give it to you later in another session. But because you will have a few, hopefully someone coming to talk to you, make sure if you have any questions about the industry, bring them with you. So any of those hard-hitting questions you've always wanted to know about getting a job in the zoo, or different types of jobs in the zoo, make sure you do bring those questions with you. Again, this is just for interest information. We think it's good for you to know. There are no assessments attached to this. It is purely just of benefit and interest. So for that third day, again, be willing, bring your laptop, notepad and pen, and of course that face mask. So same. So those last 2 days I mentioned are actually in the classroom. So we've sort of got the 3 days. You may not do them, everyone will do them in different order, so bear that in mind, but we'll give you a schedule to follow. Perth, you are starting off on Monday the 4th of May going through to Friday the 8th of May. That's your assessment session. Practical assessment session 1. So the first 4 days will be assessments and workshops. The Friday, the whole class will come back together and you'll be doing a normal theory unit like you do on your normal weeks, and that's communicate effectively. So 1 session before lunch, 1 session after lunch, normal 8 to 5 day. So for the rest of the week, you have been divided into 4 groups. You can see on the slide where you are, which group you're in. If you have a problem with your group or your schedule, please let Emma know and she can try and sort something out. But otherwise, you can see what you're doing on each day. You have to attend 4 out of the 5 days. So the good news is you do get 1 day off. As you'll notice, you do have different start times depending on what you're doing on the day. So please make sure you're aware of what time you need to be there, because if you turn up at 8 o'clock and you're meant to be there at 7, you won't be able to continue with that assessment. You would have missed too much. Okay, so you'll all be doing the same things, just in a different order, and that doesn't matter what order you're in. But on one of the days, you'll be doing PA 1, 2, and 3. On another day, you'll do PA 4 and Care for Young. The other day, your husbandry manual and your career seminar, and then, of course, everyone back together on Friday. Okay, if you do have any questions, please ask. Okay, now you've watched the little info video, the last thing you need to do is go and read the assessment requirements and student instructions for each of the practical assessments allocated to this session. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 different documents you have to read. Go into Accelerate, go into your resources and type in the name and they'll pop up for you. If you do have any issues, please contact your support officer. Please make sure you have read those instructions fully before you turn up on the assessment day. Okay, once you turn up on the assessment day, it is understood that you have read them, and if you've turned up, then you're ready to be assessed. You're agreeing that you're ready. If that is not the case, you need to make sure that you've sorted that beforehand, so please contact your support officer with any concerns or issues or questions. Okay, just be prepared. Done. Okay, any issues, contact your support officer. Have a great assessment session, and we'll catch up with you somewhere. Enjoy.